Welcome to another episode of Roll for Crit Gen Con 2015. I'm O'Keeler.
I'm Jonathan Estes. Today we're going to talk about Fantasy Flight, who on this Friday of Gen Con held their inFlight meeting conference thing, in which I think every year at Gen Con they have a little conference and they talk about what's coming up for them, what's new, announcements, etc., etc. So we're going to run through real quick some of the things that they discussed and our thoughts. Some stuff, a lot of it we don't know much about yet. They will be putting more details out on their website in the coming weeks. There's going to be a new expansion for Descent. Not exactly groundbreaking news. There's going to be a new Eldritch Horror expansion titled Under the Pyramids.
So that makes sense because actually the first expansion was the Mountains of Madness. And if you
Big bucks.
Yes, but if you recall the board, the Antarctica's, which is Mountain of Madness is all based on, was sort of an expansion of the Antarctica location. And Antarctica was one of several locations which were like the exotic explore locations. And Egypt is one as well, if I recall correctly.
So eventually
I'm sure we're going to see Amazon, something in the Amazon.
Yeah.
And I think something in Russia, I forget what it's called. It's like the
Russia land.
No. But I mean, and plus Egyptian seems to always tie heavily with the lore.
Sure.
I'm sure this will feature the Dark Pharaoh and Narcolepsy, I think it is.
Sure, Nyarlathotep.
Yeah, the one of many faces.
So we got that to look forward to, as well as the next large Imperial Assault expansion, Return to Hoth.
Ooh.
Yeah, I love Hoth. I hear it's nice to stuff.
Well, I mean, a lot of people love ships. That means, are we also getting land ships?
Yeah, that's right. More
maybe
more
new land ship rules. Well, that would be interesting. Like maybe certain ships could go into atmosphere. You could like have special
as long as you get to...
I mean, come on, a giant Imperial Walker.
Yeah, open a tauntaun and sleep inside of it. Along the same lines, the eighth wave of X-wing ships shown off. So yeah, that's coming, including actually one's really cool. It actually is a carrier for TIE fighters. So that's neat. And then finally we get to the actually new stuff, which is, first of which, the Warhammer Quest adventure card game, which at first I assumed would be an LCG. I don't think it is. It's I think it's a cooperative, just straight up adventure card game in the Warhammer universe.
Maybe they're thinking more like the Pathfinder card game style kind of
Sounds like that sort of thing. So I think that plus Forbidden Stars, it sounds they're taking the universe in fun, accessible places.
Yeah, I think they're realizing they have these properties and delving into them in weird, fun ways is what us as the players want.
Yeah, definitely.
And it probably also pulls more people into the universe if they're like, look at all this weird stuff.
I know, I'm already more interested in it from these. And then another big one, Rune Bound, which was a game for a long time. This is a brand new edition they announced. Hopefully we'll actually talk about this more another day because they do have it to demo there, but we haven't had a chance to check it out yet.
Right.
So that's exciting for a lot of people. And then final little thing, they showed a Force Awakens logo at the upcoming Star Wars movie just as a tease to let us know there's stuff in the works based on the upcoming movies.
If you didn't think they were going to do that.
So lots of stuff. And we also got to actually play a couple of upcoming games they demoed. So start us off with one of them. Pick
I think the best one to start off with, let's start small with Hoax.
Hoax. So Hoax is a brand new one. These were just in prototype form on the floor, and this is a bluffing kind of a
similar
game.
To like Coup,
Love Letter, a little bit,
kind of
things like that.
Right. In essence, the story is a shady millionaire died, and of course, a shady millionaire happened to attract very shady people. It's up to you to prove you are the shadiest trickster of them all in order to inherit the millionaire, or I guess they said millionaires for me, but I assume
whatever you want. We'll see what the official is.
Very rich person's money.
And so by you're trying to pretend that you know them in all sorts of ways, and it's like if you're familiar with Coup, each role has a power, and each turn you can claim which one it is, and someone can challenge you on doing it. Now we both played this separately, so we weren't together. What did you think?
Well, I thought it was interesting because one, you can just if you did claim someone was lying, you had to wait until someone else claimed to lie. So you couldn't just be...
Basically, once you do that, you can't do it again until someone else does it yet.
Another big thing was usually, like, I'm thinking Coup, for example. If you call out and someone calls you a lie, usually you lose a card. In this case, what happens is if you're wrong, instead of showing your card, you put a red marker over that roll on this little sheet, and you can't claim to be that roll anymore.
Right, so it's a little more forgiving in that way.
Right.
Yeah.
However, if you're right, if
Right.
they call you out and you're actually that roll, you automatically win, which is really
cool.
So
there's
it makes you can't just go, that's not true.
Games we were talking about could end in like a minute, or if people play carefully, they can go on for a long time. And also, what I think is cool about the challenging is, unlike Coup, once someone challenges, everyone else also votes on whether or not they agree that the person was lying or not. So it makes it much more of a group thing. So like you could challenge someone, like saying challenge, but whatever they claim they're hoaxing or whatever, and it might not even go through depending on how people vote. So yeah, it was definitely I liked it a lot. It was very much the kind of game we like.
Right. How did your game go?
It was really funny. Well, first of all, there's also an ability, like you said, where you accuse someone. If you think you know which card they are, and you're right, they're out. So we kind of forgot that move existed for most of the game, and it was only 3 of us that it came down to. I was sure I knew what Neil's card was, and he wasn't what he was. He was totally bluffing the entire game using the same one.
What were you?
I was the son-in-law or something like that, or no, I was the distant cousin.
That's what I was.
Oh yeah, distant cousin.
It was my game was interesting because the people in my game, I was alone and 3 other people, and they knew each other. And that goes either 2 ways.
That's different than ours.
Either A, they work together to keep them in and get the stranger out, or B, they go kill all each other and you just stand and watch.
Yeah.
And option B happened.
That's what I would expect, actually.
No, and it was interesting to watch because apparently they actually all played it before too.
Okay.
Because the one guy kept saying, like the one guy always said, like, I'm always the lover. Like that was always his joke. And what happened was, I got behind in resources, but because of that, they also didn't know me and didn't care much about me. So they started guessing on each other, and each one eliminated the other person, and became down between the 2 of us. And what really helped is one of the things you can do is you gather resources, money, prestige. Prestige, that's the word, and evidence. If you have 1 of each, you can turn them in to have the person take a pile of cards. He takes his card and 3 random ones, shuffles them, and gives them to you.
Right.
So you can, not only do you see what possibility he can be, you know there's at least 3 cards he cannot be. And when I did this to the final person, I happened to get the strange cousin in there. So I was able to down to 3. And then when it was my turn and down to 2 of us,
to me too.
I had the feeling if I don't do the accusation now, I'm betting he knows what I am.
Right. Yeah. There's that
because he was doing really well with like
it creates a great kind of tension.
And so I was like, I'm accusing you, and I looked at him like, okay, I know he's one of these 3 cards, and I've actually seen him use this ability before. And so I'm guessing.
So you guessed
that one.
And you were right.
Yeah, I was. I did a Hail Mary and it worked.
Yeah, that's what you got to do.
It's a lot of fun. I love that. That's the aspect I think that really makes it stand out outside of Coup, is that investigation. You look at the cards because all of a sudden you're like, okay, it's down to these 4, and you change.
It does. It's very similar, but it also
and the guesses are. I think the guesses are more high stakes.
And in a way, when you get deeper into it, I think there are a lot of differences. So, but if you like Coup games like that, definitely look forward to that. So the other one we're going to talk about is the Fury of Dracula, which is another reprint of sort of a remake.
Right. This isn't new. It's I think at least 3rd.
A new edition. Yeah.
They don't have a release date yet for it. I didn't ask her about Hoax because I just played.
Hoax
Did you ask them?
Is coming out by the end of the year, they said.
Okay. Yeah.
So Fury of Dracula.
Pretty much it's a 1 versus all game where 1 player plays Dracula, the rest play investigators. And pretty much you as the investigators run around Europe trying to find and kill Dracula. Dracula, on the other hand, tries to hide while running around Europe and causing mischief wherever he goes.
Placing traps, throwing monsters at you, stuff like that, fighting you directly or not, or whatever.
Right. We didn't really get to play a full game because it's long and they didn't have it. But from what we played, it was a lot of fun. What's really cool is there's a day-night cycle, which makes perfect sense for a vampire because anything involving vampire, sunlight is always an issue. So, And there was definitely...
Depending on what time of day it is,
Right.
different things are available to you.
And there's a cool way to try to track down Dracula.
Yeah, like it's basically it's sort of similar to Letters from Whitechapel or something like that. You don't know where Dracula is necessarily, so a lot of the game is trying to, like you said, track him down, and like he has cards that show him. And I thought that was cool too, because unlike Whitechapel where you're writing stuff down on a piece of paper, this was all built into the cards where he controlled remembering where he was and that kind of where he moved from and to, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
So there's the deduction aspect as well as the combat, which apparently they totally reworked from the original.
Yeah, apparently that was the big thing, and apparently they said it made it a lot better.
Yeah, and yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, what's really cool is the combat. The way the combat works now is, I don't know how the old one was, but the new one, when you play 1v1, you each play a card, and depending on the symbols on each card, you may be able to cancel out the Dracula, or I should say the monsters, because you're not always fighting Dracula.
Right.
Their card.
So Dracula.
With yours, but if not, their card might hit you harder. But if you're playing two-player, you each put down a card, and then the Dracula player has to only choose to attack one of you, which is a big difference.
Right, because then the other guy gets a free shot.
Right. And
so there's a lot of strategy in teaming up with each
Right.
other, being basically a co-op game after all.
Right. And there's this really cool mechanic of when you buy items, you can also get events that help you. And during the event deck, it mixes events for you and Dracula. During the day, if you draw your event, you put in your hand. If it's Dracula, you just discard. If it's at night and you try to draw, you draw from the bottom. And if you get a Dracula card, it actually triggers.
Right.
So that was a really cool, fun, press your luck kind of idea.
Yeah, feeling the pressure of...
It's definitely one of those games where you have to work really hard together to beat the Dracula player. But I didn't feel too worried about it.
Right. It wasn't like these are co-op games, but it wasn't like Ghost Stories or something where the odds were really stacked against. It's almost like maybe Last Night on Earth or something. It seemed pretty evenly balanced.
But yeah, we don't have a release date on that yet, but I'm definitely very excited to see that.
Yeah, it was very fun, great theme, and definitely very Fantasy Flight. It felt like a Fantasy Flight game.
Oh, definitely.
I don't know if that means anything to anyone. But yeah, so that was what we saw today. There was a lot more from Fantasy Flight that we probably will hopefully have videos for later. But so far, those were two great games, and their news was pretty cool. So if you want to see lots of pictures and things like that, and more videos from Gen Con this year, please check out rollforcrit.com/GenCon15, where you also find all our info. You can buy games, Twitter, etc. So until next time, I'm Jonathan Estes.
I'm Will Keeler, and this has been Roll for Crit Gen Con 2015.